Okay, everybody, here we go. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, you guys. I sound like that dude from the Goonies. Hey, you guys. Well, hey, you guys, we are open. Okay, we are ready for business. And I think I put the title up there. I'm pretty sure I did. The wife is sneaking next door at 3 o'clock in the morning. Let me tell you something. Shout out to my great grandmama. Shout out to my great grandmama. Let me tell you something that my great grandmama would say to that, honey. My great grandmama would be like, baby, ain't nothing open that late but legs. And for sure, ain't nothing open that late but legs at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, whatever. Um, so we're here, Scott's here. Scott, are you ready to hear about this wife that's sneaking next door at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Ready.
Well, honey, here we go. Okay, so it starts off. So there's like a pre-start off for this doohickey. So there's a pre-start off where Watson kind of dragging. Okay, Watson kind of dragging. Watson is like, yeah, Sherlock Holmes for all his greatness. Sometimes he be getting them cases wrong. Yeah, Watson's dragging. Watson's starting with a drag on this one. So he's like, usually Sherlock Holmes is right, but hey, there are times he's wrong. So he names another one, and we'll get to that one too. But then he's like, yeah, so let's talk about this case. So, Sherlock and Watson they took a little walk. I guess they living together again. Watson is not married yet. And oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be doing a puzzle. I'm all up in this case. So anyway, so they walk in, so they get home, and their little servant boy or page is what they called him. He's a page. Was like, hey, there was this guy here, and he was like really, like he looked very distraught and distressed. And I told him to just have a seat and wait. Y'all were on a walk, but he just panicked and just got up and had to just take a walk too. But he said he'll be back. And so Sherlock and Watson are like, okay. But Sherlock is like, no, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it because oh my God, I'm so bored. I've been doing my because I've been bored, So he's like, no, we gonna take this case. We gonna sit here and wait. We ain't doing nothing until this person come back. So the guy was, but in between time, in the meantime, this has nothing to do with the story, but I'm gonna tell you because it's in the book. It's in here. But he's like, he sees the guy's pipe, like they smoked like tobacco and pipes then. So he sees the guy's pipe and he's making little deductions, and he's like, oh, that man, he got money, honey, and he's left-handed. He's making little deductions before he even knew who the man was, before he even met him. So finally the guy comes back, and he's like, look, I usually don't be putting my business out here in the streets, especially about me and my wife, because I keep my business in my house. He was like, but I need some help, and I knew you were the one to come to. So here we are, the Scooby-Doo agency types. He came to us. So let's get into it. So he's like, by the way, his name is Grant Morrow. He the husband. He from Norbury. So, and remember that name. Remember Norbury, because it's gonna come up. So he's like, I met this little pretty young thing. Her name Effie. Now Monroe used to be something else. He was like, I'm just gonna say, first and foremost, my wife loves me. Okay. Don't think that she is out here doing anything, because that woman is madly in love with me. I got her climbing all four walls. He don't say that, but it's kind of insinuated. I got her climbing all four walls around here. I'm that dude. So don't think nothing about it. She is in love with me. And like he's going so deep into details. Sherlock Holmes is like, would you just tell me the damn story? Like, and I'm gonna read that part because I was like, sir, like methinks the dude protests too much. So here we go. This is the part right here. Now that there is one thing that I want to impress upon you before I go any further. Mr. Holmes, Effie loves me. Don't let there be any mistake about that. She loves me with her whole heart and soul, and never more than now. I know it. I feel it. I don't want to argue about that. A man can tell easily enough when a woman loves him, but there's this secret between us. Now, see, here we go. Sir, you doing a lot of she love you, and then you hit us with the butt. You just with the butt. Just out of nowhere. But okay, but wait. But there's this secret between us, and we can never be the same until it is cleared. And so here goes Sherlock. Sherlock's just looking at him like, sir, because you got to move your head around. Like, sir, who is this for? He's like, kindly let me have the facts, Mr. Monroe, said Holmes with some impatience. Like, sir, stop all that. If she loved you that much, you wouldn't be here. Wait, why you grown, Scott? I'm just putting the facts out there because it was a lie. I'm reading in between the lines. If these are the lines, I'm in between them. Okay, what you say?
Nothing. Just agree.
I'm here with Sherlock, honey. We're all here with Sherlock. So, you know, he's like, just cough up the deeds, sir. So, he meets Effie. He meets her in the UK, and he gives us a little background about Effie. So Effie is, she's 25. She was married, but she is a widow. She had a child. Her husband died in America. You know what? This is an interesting fact. Guess who they named?
Guess who what?
Guess what city Effie from? Everybody know this city.
She's from America?
Yeah.
I'll just go with something simple and say New York.
No. Peace up. A-Town down. Remember when Usher did that, Scott?
No idea what you're talking about.
He don't listen to Usher. He's more of a heavy metal guy. What kind of music do you listen to, Scott? Metal. Heavy on the metal. Exodus. Heavy on the Exodus on the metal. So, wait, where was I? He's explaining Effie. She's from Atlanta. So, he's like, she lost her husband and her wife, or husband and daughter, to yellow fever. They both got yellow fever and passed away. And so she just couldn't take it. She was just done, which I get it. I mean, that's crazy. She was done. So she came over to the UK. She's very well off. And then she was really, really well off after her husband passed away because they sold the business. And he left her, I guess he had a bomb life insurance policy. So she's very well off. So she hightailed it right on to the UK. And 6 months after they passed, or after she got there, I should say, she bumped into Grant. And honey, the thing he was saying, she is just absolutely just head over heels in love with me. She fell head over heels in love with him, says he. So, they've been married. They got married a year or two later. And he's like, we are madly in love, with the amount of money I make and her money that she has coming in. It's like 700 a year, 700 pounds a year, which is a lot of money in the 1800s. You got to, calculate for inflation. So, he's like, with all that money, we don't want for nothing. So Sherlock Holmes, said he was well off, and he was right. So he was like, we don't really want for anything. We have a nice little cottage out, far out in the woods, so we don't have to be bothered with people. I go do my business in London, and we have a good time in the woods. So he was like, we didn't have any neighbors for a long time. But all of a sudden I saw, a stagecoach out. No. He's like, my wife gave me all her money. Whatever money she gives it to me. And he was like, I just made a promise to her that if you ever need money, just let me know and I'll give you whatever you want. And so she's like, okay, cool. So one day she comes to him and she wants 100 pounds. And he's like, what you want that for? And she's like, honey, when I go to the bank, the banker don't ask me what I want the money for. Period, Effie.
All right.
That's her money. Like, sir, didn't I give you 700? Give me 100 back. That's the change you owe me back. So anyway, so, he's like, oh, well, I figure she just wanted a new dress or something, which tells you that women were shopping back then too. Scott seems to think that this shopping thing is horrendous. And I'm just like, no, women have always shopped, though. I don't understand how men don't know that. But anyway, not all women, but anyway. So he was like, oh, I figured she wanted a new dress or whatever. So, I gave her £100 and she skipped on out the door. So he said, about 2 months after that, these people, they got neighbors. They hadn't had neighbors in a long time or ever. And, all of a sudden some people were moving in the cottage next door. And he was like, oh, that's cool. So he said he was walking past it and he looked up at the window, just being nosy, just like, oh, I wonder who it is, like Scott did. When I moved back into my house, Scott was all. That's how I met Scott. Oh. So anyway, so he was peeking around and all of a sudden he said he saw this yellow face, this unusually weird, just this color yellow face. It was just an abnormal color yellow. So I wore my yellow for that. And he said it freaked him out. He was like, oh my God. To the point where he couldn't stop thinking about it. And so, it happens. Yellow faces happen. Yellow dresses happen. Yellow snow happens. So, cats happen. You got to get your cat. Making all that noise. He didn't want to come down earlier, but now he does. So anyway, there, he's easing on, he's like, oh my God. So he eases on back to his cottage, but he can't stop thinking about this face. He was like, it was crazy looking. It's wild. So, whatever. So the wife comes back and him and the wife are talking and he casually mentions, oh, we got some neighbors next door finally. It's been forever, just small talk and whatnot. And so she's like, So he said, they go to bed, whatever. And he said, usually he's a heavy sleeper. But this particular night, his male intuition kicked in, I guess. I would say female intuition, but I guess it was male intuition. His husband intuition. I guess it's that same intuition. What say you, Scott? That like my dad was a heavy Sports Center ESPN watcher. And he kept the TV on that. And like we were kids, we wanted to see cartoons. Mm-hmm. And like he would be falling asleep. He would like literally be knocked out, like the remote then fell from his hand and everything. And we would go and try to change the channel to cartoons and he would just like instantly wake up. So I guess maybe that's that intuition, that male intuition of, oh, she didn't change the channel or, oh, she's sneaking out at 3:00 in the morning. So he said, usually he's a heavy sleeper, but not this night, honey. That male intuition, either somebody didn't turn this TV off of ESPN, and even though I done seen this same clip over and over and over again, I have to watch it again, or, there's some movement in the room. It was the latter. It was her. He said he saw his wife get up, put her little bonnet on, put on, whatever, and sneak out the door. And he said at first he was going to say something, but then he was like, no, let me fall back and watch and see what's going on. And so, he let her go on. And he said, he's sitting there looking at, he looked at the whatever little clock thing, and it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, or what? So he said he laid there for a little bit, waited. So about 20 minutes later, here this shit come tipping back up in the room. And this is where he was like, "Nah, I'm gonna say something." He was like, "Where did you go? Where were you at?" How you doing? Shout out to Wendy Williams. So she was like, "Oh, Grant. Oh, hey. I was laying in bed and I felt like I needed a little air. I was gonna pass out, even though you're already in bed. So what a better place to pass out?" But she felt a little faint, and so she went on outside and got some air. She needed to do a little walk out in the woods in the 1800s, probably with Jack the Ripper out there. But she needed to take a little walk so she could get the faint. Because that's when you want to faint at 3 o'clock in the morning outdoors. That's when you want to faint, not in your bed. It didn't make any sense to me. I was like, So she was like, "But I'm fine now. Let's lay down, go back to sleep. You're usually a heavy sleeper. What's up? Your male intuition kicking in? Did somebody change the sports center?" Clearly, that's trauma from my childhood. So, so anyway, so he looked at her like, "Okay, girl," and they went on to sleep. So he said that next day they weren't talking. Mm-mm. Scott, if you caught me tipping in the house at 3 o'clock in the morning, would you talk to me the next day if I was like, "Ooh, I was about to pass out in the bed"?
There would be some answers that would be needed.
Well, we got to keep looking to find the answers. So, so he was upset, clearly. I mean, like, you just caught your wife tipping in at 3 o'clock in the morning. So, he was upset. So he took a long walk. He was like, let me take a walk before I pass out. And so he took a walk and he went walking, he said, for like 2-3 hours. And so he was gone. So he comes back, and as he's walking back to his cottage, guess who he sees tipping out the next door cottage? Scott, who do you think? Who do you think, viewer? Who do you think? Put it in the comments too. It'll timestamp it.
Tipping out the next door cottage?
Yeah. Who do you think was tipping out the next door cottage?
Don't know.
His wife, of course. So the wife tipping out the next door cottage, and he just like, girl, I'm like, girl, what are you? And she was like, "Oh, hi, oh my God, hi, I went over here because you mentioned this and people moved over here, and I wanted to see if they needed any help." And he's like, "Nah, is that where you went last night? Is that where you went last night?" And she was like, "Huh?" And so he was like, "Let me tell you something. I'm about to go up in there." And she was like, "No. So she grabs him like, you gotta read the book. Cause he's like, she had the strength of like 3 men holding me back. Yeah, she got that strong grip. She was like, "No." So he's like, "Nah, I need to see who's up in that house that you were tipping out at 3 o'clock in the morning to see. That you just like, girl, I took a walk like you lied and said you did last night. And now you tipping out the house. So clearly that's where you be. So I need to see why you in there." And so she was like, "Look, if you go in there, this is going to end our whole marriage. This is just going to end everything. We won't be married no more." So let's just call it a wash. I'm not going over here no more. And I promise you, I'm not ever gonna go over to the next door neighbor house no more. He was like, okay. She was like, but you can't go in there. He was like, okay, as long as you don't be tipping out of there, I won't go barging in there. It's a deal. Why you humming, Scott? Scott always humming and high.
We'll see.
We'll see what
happens.
So he said he looked up over at the house one last gander. He wants to take one last look. Boom, there go the yellow face. Scaring him. And he says it. He's like, how is my sweet, sweet, lovely wife who loves me more than anything else on the planet? Honey, she loved me more than air, water, and whatever else. How is she over at a house with something that look like that? That look like that? How? So, life is going on. Everything is good again. But 3 days later, the homie's male intuition hit him again. It was like, bing, get on the early train and go back home. See what your wife up to. Scott, what do you think she was up to? What do you think she was up to? What do you think?
Tipping over into that cottage next door again.
So he comes home an hour early, and the maid is like, hey, oh my God, look at you home an hour early. Oh, huh. And so she was like, oh, well, you know what? Your wife, she went for a walk. Mm-hmm. She was feeling faint again. So, he was like, So he said, what? So he goes storming through the house looking just to make sure, because he's like, nah, you better be joking. So he went looking all through the house, trying to figure out where this woman is. And all of a sudden, he looks out the window and he see the maid go and run into the cabin next door. And so he runs out to the cabin next door too. And so as he's coming towards the cabin, the wife and the maid are coming back. And he was like, look, this time I'm going in that house. You broke your promise. You get on my nerves. He probably cursed her out. I would have. Scott, would you have cursed me out if you caught me doing that?
Yes.
He wouldn't. He faking for the camera, y'all. So he goes into so this time he storms in the house. And it's empty, but it's nicely kind of furnished. It's really cozy. It's cute. And so he looks through all the rooms and stuff, looking to see if he could find who's there. Because at this point, I think he thinks she cheating on him. But she loves him though. So I guess she wouldn't, technically. So, he storms through the rooms. He gets to the master bedroom, like the biggest, most opulent room. And guess what's in there, Scott? Guess what's in there?
The yellow-faced person.
No. There is a big, full-length picture of his wife sitting on the nightstand. What scandalous and more scandalous? I dare I say. So he storms out. He is upset. He's angry. He's furious. He just walks past her. He probably mushed her in the face. He probably was like, mushed her. Get out my way. I don't mean that for y'all though. I mean that that's what he did to her. So he probably smushed her and walked. And honey, he caught the next stagecoach right on over there to Sherlock Holmes. And that's when we catch him, being like, where they at? Mm-hmm. So Sherlock Holmes is like, I kind of already know what happened. I think I already know. So he throws his little, so the dude, well, okay, he sends the dude home and he's like, look, go over there to that neighbor house, double check and make sure they back in that house. Don't go barging in there again, though. Don't do that. Don't do that. What I need you to do is send a telegraph over to me, and then Holmes and I'll be there. Or I'm sorry, Watson and everybody in the gang, Watson and the gang, us, will be there in an hour. An hour after that, we're gonna take that fast stagecoach, honey. We're gonna get there to Norbury. So, while they waiting though, Holmes is looking at Watson and he like, let me tell you. I already know what happened. Scott, you want to already know what happened? Do you want to already know what happened?
Yes.
So he said, he goes on and he says, I think that husband that she had down to a piece up A Town Down, Atlanta, for those who don't listen to Usher. I think he actually didn't pass away. I think he lived, but he was so like disabled or disfigured or whatever that she left him and fled on over here. He found her and now he blackmailing her. What you think, Scott?
No, that's not what I think's going on.
That's only because I told you in the beginning that Holmes had it wrong.
Well, yeah, that helps. But that's not what I would have guessed anyway.
That's what I would have guessed. Like the first time I read it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that husband ain't gone."
I don't know what the deal is with the dude being yellow faced and all that. Maybe he's just jaundiced. But I think he's just a painter. I think it's gonna be something innocent. She's like going over there and he's doing a portrait of her. And it's supposed to be a gift for her husband.
Okay, that's a fair guess. Okay, well, the husband sends the message. Clearly, the husband gonna have to send this message because he can't leave us like that. So the husband sends the message. So they boogie on down to Norbury. And so they get there, and Holmes is like, okay, come on. He was like, look, it's illegal what we gonna do, but we're rebels. We're rebels. Scott, remember that one time we crosswalked? We're rebels. We're rebels. I know. We jaywalked. Rebels. And you know what this time? Guess what we're doing, Scott? We're barging into somebody's house to figure out what the hell is up in there. Let's get it. Get the battle ram. So they barge in. They like, no, we're coming in. Like the FBI, like a raid. It's all of us. And so they storm upstairs. They storm, like Mr. or Grant leads them to that master bedroom where that white full portrait is. He is upset, honey. He leads them right on back there. And in the room is indeed a person with a yellow face. And some gloves, all like some white gloves, and a little kid's dress. So it's a little girl. And so Holmes looks at this and he starts laughing. And then he steps up to the person, pulls something from behind her ears, and a mask comes off. And behind it is a little black girl. That's the end of our story. That's the end.
That's the end.
I'm kidding. I was kidding. I'm kidding. No, they wouldn't leave you like that. He wouldn't do the story. Watson wouldn't do the story if it was that nondescript. And so in rushes a beautiful woman who is the wife. Sherlock and him, we ain't never seen her. We ain't never seen Effie. So in runs Effie. And she's like, I told you don't be coming over here. I told you this was going to end our relationship. Oh my God. And so, he's like, her husband, Grant's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah, everybody's like, what is going on, girl? What? Help us understand what is going on. And so she begins to tell her story. So what no one knew is when she went to Atlanta, or I'm sorry, when she lived in Atlanta and she was married that time, her husband was black. Now during the 1800s, we were not doing that. We were not here for that. America was not here for it. I don't even think the UK was here for it. They weren't here for that. Miscegenation laws were not a thing back then. So she married her a black man, honey. And they had a child. And she was like, honey, I had a child. And she was like, it go either way. But this child came out darker than the daddy. Okay. So, she was like, so both of them got sick, him and her. But she was like, my daughter lived. And she was like, and when I moved, she was too sick to still move, which is kind of messed up. Like, girl, you just gonna leave your baby sick. But
sorry, you're sick. You can't take care of you.
I need to leave, honey.
I'm just gonna leave you.
I gotta go.
Over that.
Well, no, she wasn't like she was over the sickness, but she was too weak to like survive a boat ride because they didn't have planes at this time.
It's strong enough to just be left to her own devices, I guess.
Not to her own devices. She had a nanny. These are wealthy people. They have nannies that they pay full time. Like, girl, I'm gonna be over in the UK. When she get well enough, I'll send for y'all. So she corresponded with the daughter. So remember when she got that 100 pounds? Remember? That was to bring her baby over there. The baby was well enough again. So now she said she didn't plan on falling in love with Grant, which happens. Love happens. But she said, she did plan on sending for her daughter. So once the daughter got well enough, she went on and sent for her. And that's what she needed that 100 pounds for. Then he was like, what you need the money for? She's like, my banker don't be asking me when I withdraw money. She didn't say it like that. So she was like, and she opened her little locket and was like, see, this is my husband, honey. And this is the kid. Like, they black. And so, so she was like, I felt like you would not be able to handle it. Actually, I marked, we just gonna read, because this just warmed my heart, honey. This whole story, this is a heartwarming tale, y'all. We need heartwarming at this time period. This is heartwarming. So this is how Effie ends it. She said, and now tonight, you at last know all. And I ask that what is to become of us, my child and me? She clasped her hands and waited for an answer. Now, let me tell you, this is when Grant became my favorite person. Listen to Grant. It was a long 10 minutes before Grant Monroe broke the silence. And when his answer came, it was one of which I love to think. He lifted the little child, kissed her, and then, still carrying her, he held his other hand out to his wife and turned towards the door. We can talk it over more comfortably at home, he said. I am not a very good man, Effie, but I think that I am a better one than you have given me credit for being. Period. This is when I said, okay, that woman loved him the way. Now, that's how you earn that. That's how you earn what he was talking about in the beginning. So Sherlock was like, you know what? I think it's time for us to go. We have done what we needed to do. We let them people go on here and go be a family. And this is what Sherlock Holmes said. And this is why I love him. You ain't going to tell me he ain't the GOAT. You're not going to tell me that. And I'm going to read you this passage. We're going to end it right here. Well, we're going to do our lessons learned, and we're going to end it. Anyway, he said, Watson, said he, if it should ever strike you that I am getting a little overconfident in my powers or giving less pains to a case than it deserves, kindly whisper Norbury in my ear, and I shall be infinitely obliged to you. He said, hold me accountable, baby. Integrity first. Period. Two men just walked out the door, and I'm here for the respect, honey. I'm here for the respect. So that ends the case of the wife is sneaking next door at 3 a.m. What lessons did you learn from that, Scott?
Don't know. Lesson. Learned that she's not a good mom.
Period. I don't agree with that, but period. Period. You're not gonna drag Effie. You're not gonna drag Effie. She was just doing what Effie does.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are you ready for my lessons learned?
Yes.
And y'all put down in there what y'all lessons y'all learned from this. Lesson number 1. Go, if you with somebody, put the truth out there. Either they gonna accept you or not. If they really love you, honey, they'll just accept whatever it is. But if they don't, hey, honey, close that door, let the other one open. There's nothing you can do. The truth gonna come out eventually anyway. So why hide it? Effie was over there hiding it, and that man could have been, integrated all the kid and everybody into that family child. She was playing herself. And if he had walked away, oh well, honey, on to the next. And then Sherlock taught me something. Hold yourself accountable. Never overestimate your talents. Even the best has a day off or so. You got anything else, Scott?
No, maybe Sherlock should lay his low on the toot a little bit in his downtime.
That is a lesson. Lay off the on your downtime, period. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to bid you adieu. And as always, from wherever I am to wherever you are, peace, love, and happiness. It's official. We are now closed. But I am going to do a live showing my puzzle that I did. It's over there. Don't be looking at my puzzle. Don't be looking at my puzzle. But we are done. I'll see you guys later. Bye.